Welcome to the 30-Year-Old Virgin podcast, where we discuss all things sex, love, and relationships. I'm your host and favorite late bloomer, Allison Cadena. And on today's episode, I'm sitting down with one of my favorite couples. I like to believe we're a throuple, but they didn't really have a choice in that. And so we're here with Randy Whisky and Madi Jane. So they met and fell in love while living in different countries, different continents. So I'm here to get their take on long distance relationships and how the hell do you make one work? Welcome, Randy and Madi.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Audience clap. Cool. So, let's start off just like I know some of the story, but so that the guests get an idea. How did you guys meet? Give us like a synopsis of how it happened.
You want to go for that one?
You can start.
All right. So, Madi and we met thanks to a mutual friend, actually. I recorded a video singing a cover about 6 or 7 years ago, and I uploaded this video on YouTube, and a promoter in Germany saw the video, and that guy got in touch with a good friend of mine from here in New York, and he asked me, who's that guy? Let's bring him to Germany. Let's do a show with him over here in the club. And so fast forward to me being in Germany, the day before the show, we go to this restaurant because the promoter from Germany wanted me to meet a young lady that also does music. And so we go, and there she was. There she was. She was.
Now, did he know he was he trying to hook you up, or was it like, oh, so they can work on music together? Because Randy's a singer, but also a producer, so it was more like a networking thing.
Yeah. I think his intentions were definitely just for us to like work on music. But it ended up happening.
You didn't get the memo.
Yeah, I went further than that, way further.
You misunderstood the assignment. And so when you guys met, you didn't start dating right away, from my understanding, right? You guys you met, you were friends, and then later you kind of started something. What was that? Because like living in different continents, is it that like, did you visit again and that sparked it? Like, where did that come from?
I think we had it in mind, but we didn't think it could work out because he was in New York, I was in Germany. But then he came back 3 years later. We saw each other again, and it was still the same chemistry.
The same, feeling.
And actually, like 6 months after we saw each other again, when the pandemic started, we started to have contact every day.
Yeah.
And then I think then is when it started to get serious.
Yeah. After I went out there to do another show after that first time that we met back when I went, and she was the waitress at the restaurant that I went to eat at.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe like 2 or 3 years passed by, and I went back for another show, and we pretty much reunited again. We saw each other just randomly, and we hung out again, and like she said, the vibe was still there. And even after that, I came back to New York, and still there was like no constant contact. But somewhere during, what was it, like February?
It started the end of that year, like the end of 2019.
Okay, exactly. The end of 2019, we just kind of like, how you doing? I just like, I'm doing good. What about you? And I'm like, I'm doing good. What you gonna do later on? And then we just kind of like went, like the little small conversations turned into bigger conversations. Then that turned into 2-minute voice memos, then 5-minute voice memos, then 8-minute voice memos, and FaceTime calls, and next thing you know, we're in 4 or 5 months doing this, and we're like, yo, let's visit each other. Let's find a way to see each other and really test this out. And that's when I then went to Germany, not for a show, but with the intentions of, going to see her and visit her and spend more time, romantically speaking, So
while y'all were talking and stuff, did you ever talk about like, what are we doing? Or it was just naturally like, oh, we're just like getting to know each other. Like, let's not even put a name on it.
She made that clear. She met after like the second time that I went. She asked me. She's like, "What are we?"
No, after the first time.
After the first time.
So y'all were talking for like, let's say like 5-ish months, and then when you went to visit, she's like, okay, well,
yeah, like we're doing all of this. I'm introducing you to my family. You know.
But even before, it was clear. It was clear that like we didn't put a label on it because it was not. We didn't see each other, but we knew that we want to have a serious relationship, and we have to find a way to see each other and get together because we were talking every day, and we were talking about the future and when are we gonna do this and what is the name of the baby, like whenever we have a kid. Yeah, we were having these type of conversations already, so it was clear. But we were not labeling it,
right,
because we haven't seen each other after the show, so it was kind of
right. Now, had you guys ever done a long distance relationship before, either of you, or was this like a first thing?
Me personally, I did. I was in a long distance relationship for like a few months. Nothing compared to what I have with Mari now. I did, but I yeah, this felt way much more stronger and right. Yeah. What about you?
What about Mari? Had you done it before?
Yes, and I was okay with it. Like for me, it was not a no-go to have another long distance relationship, but I was never thinking about that distance.
Yeah,
so,
that's big.
Yeah.
That's a whole ocean.
Yes. So I thought for me, like for it to work, we would have to, I don't know, move closer, at least the same continent. Like I would have never thought that it would have worked out.
Yeah. I actually considered even moving to Spain at some point to like be closer and try to like make things work. That was during the pandemic, and actually people from Germany weren't being allowed into the U.S. So I was just trying to find ways to like make it work and be there. But we actually just ended up getting married, and because that was like the one way to, on top of the fact that we love each other and we actually wanted to make it work, getting married was the one way that we could, I'm going to say, play the system, because the only people that were actually allowed into the U.S. were spouses or like military or,
At that time, yeah.
Yeah, so we were like, you know what, fuck, let's get let's get married. I don't know if we could curse over here. So
yeah, for sure. Rock out.
Yeah, it was like, fuck it, let's just get married and get your ass over here,
And how long were y'all together before you made that decision?
A little bit more than like officially like a year.
No.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I was like, okay. No, I mean, when you know, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So what made you guys? So you got married a year in. You guys are now, you moved here to New York. Was this immediately after getting married that you came here, or like what was? I guess kind of like what was the timeline of when you said, okay, now let's actually move in together and like try to make a life together?
So the idea of moving together was already there after the second time he came, when we were officially together, because we were like, okay, we cannot do this forever because of the money and, and he had to fly every second month to Germany. So we already started to plan the living together after a month of being together, because we were 2 weeks together and it was like, okay, we have to give it a real shot. And then we started to plan, but because of the pandemic, it was kind of hard. So even before we got married, we knew we have to move together, but because of the circumstances, it was like not easy. And the marriage was like I would say a bonus, like to a security to, okay, I can go and visit him.
Right.
But we were still trying to figure out how are we going to do it? Like, when am I going to come? How does it make sense? And, because I had my job over there, my life, my apartment, we had to like find the real time.
Yeah. And how'd you decide that you would come here as opposed to Randy going to Europe?
Because he already does what he loves, I think.
Yeah.
And it was like, for me, I said that it's for me it's okay to come to New York. It was always an option because it's not that I was doing what I loved over there, or and he would have to start from zero in Germany. But I don't know, for me it was never a big issue of moving somewhere else and to start over, because I kind of always had it in my mind, even though even before the relationship. And I think the language as well, and I was never a really big fan of the culture over there, I would say. So for me it was not a hard decision. It was hard at the end because, it's, of course, your family and friends are there, but it was clear that I'm the one who's gonna come. Yeah.
I think the hardest part for you was just letting go of the apartment.
As well, yeah. The apartment and yeah.
When you said Randy, when we were talking about it, not on the podcast, but you said that Randy made you like get rid of stuff. I was like, I could never. It would never. You want me to get rid of my stuff? No, that's it. That's the end of our romance for me.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, there's no way you're gonna bring all those kitchen pots and your luggage. Like, what are you thinking? Come on.
And my decoration.
And the decorations and stuff. I mean, we did bring some things, just the essential though, like the really cool things. Yeah. Yeah. No pots.
Those were good pots, I heard. But so did you have a different approach to a long distance relationship than you would if it had been like if you guys had met and lived in the same area? Like, did you have to be a little more strategic, or like what's the difference between this and perhaps something that you've done before that was obviously local?
Nah, I feel like the big difference here was just the fact that, to me, just Mari was different, most importantly, like besides the distance, besides the obstacles, it was just like, she's different, and I really see myself making the decision of making this, serious and really committing to that, to this. And it was just that, honestly. It wasn't nothing about, again, it was just the what I felt, most importantly, But I mean, the distance did make it. I'm not gonna say more difficult. It just made it more challenging to make it work. But again, it felt so right that I was, again, I was committed, and then we're gonna find a way to make it work. That was just, my thought in my head.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you for you, Mari?
Yeah, like the thing that you said, when I was different, I felt the same about him, and kind of felt right, even after the first time I met him. And also, I think it was hard, it was difficult with the distance, and it was different than other relationships. But the good point is that we were talking a lot, really, like I think more than a couple would talk if they would live in the same city. So because that's what we had, like, really, to talk to each other. And you don't have anything else. You cannot, like, you don't have this routine. You don't have dates, or we still try to have dates, but on the phone. Yeah, we were talking a lot, so we really got to know each other on a different level. So
yeah, the communication was a big factor.
So now that was different than like a regular
now that you mentioned that, it's true. The communication, that I would actually brag to people about that sometimes. Like, whenever I speak about Mari, it's the communication. It's the communication. Like, it's just the way that we really. It's not even that we plan it. It's just like we want to talk to each other and know what happened, how did it happen. Like, it's just the details, and again, it felt right. And the communication made it even better.
Yeah, that's one thing that I would have wondered about, because I think when you're dating, like in in person locally, like there's a natural progression. You can kind of like spice it up and be like, oh, let's go to this park, or like let's do different interesting dates. And like Randy knows, I tried to do long distance for 1 second. I'm like, I'm getting bored. I don't even know what to talk about on the phone no more, And so like, how do you make those connections or like advance things when all you have is like the phone? Like that's all you really have. So like, what about like when you guys would meet up and, spend time together, did you have a strategy for that? How did that compare to like when you were doing things overseas and just kind of like, having conversations?
You mean like the difference between us being face to face and like?
Yeah, like when you would actually go over there and spend 2 weeks or whatever it is.
I mean, it'd be better because I would be there just like feeling her and touching her and actually being face to face. But again, I felt closer to her while she was all the way in Germany than to a lot of people that were still here in New York. Because we spoke so much. So the difference, it would just be the fact that, I felt her physically, but the connection was still there,
It still felt natural.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it didn't feel like, because I don't know, I would be scared that like you get there and be like, oh, actually, I don't know you. Like, actually, you're a stranger, but you never felt that. You guys still felt like.
Yeah. Especially because whenever we met, the connection was there right away. We was at a club, after the show, and we was just talking, laughing, dancing, and just having a good time. So from that moment, we knew that okay, there's something special. There's a connection. There's this feeling of like just like freedom, or not freedom, or just feeling like yourself completely while you're with that person. So. Yeah, and there was never, at least on my side, there was never like a little uncomfortable feeling of like, I need my alone time or something. It just felt good, always.
Did you guys ever feel any, like, is there a difference in the way that people date as an American versus like in Germany? Did you guys ever feel any kind of like cultural clash in that nature? Because I know when I was trying to do something long distance, that person was Dominican, and anyone who's ever dated a Dominican know that these men, they meet you and they're in love. They're in love 2 seconds in, don't know your middle name, but they're in love. They want to get married. They want to have kids, right? Listen, you gotta talk to your people. So you gotta place a WhatsApp call to your people back there.
I wish I could do something about it, man. I really do.
So, but I think it's like, it's the opposite here in the US, where I feel like when I date American men here, they don't want to put a name on anything. Like you could be with them for 10 years, have 3 children, and they're like, no, we just friends. You know what I mean? There's so much hesitation to like even call, like put a label on something or show any kind of like vulnerability or interest. Did you feel anything like that dating, between the two of you, of like, actually in Germany, they date this way?
Not really, because I didn't date a lot of German people. That's the thing. I was like always, I don't know. I even had a lot of American influence over there because I was, with Latinos from the States, or so. I wouldn't say that I was the typical German, and I think it was more what we expect from a relationship. Because I think there as well, there are a lot of people who don't want to put a label on it, but then you have those people who are like, oh my God, let's get married in a few months, So, yeah, I wanted to make sure that he's on the same page like I am. And even though we were having that strong connection, we were talking, you never know. Maybe one day he's like, but I never said that, that's why after the first meeting, I made clear, I was like, okay, listen, what are we? Because I'm not you were in the house of my mom, all my friends, and I don't know anything. So I have to know for sure,
Yeah. And also he's Dominican, so.
And yeah, you never know.
You gotta be a little weary.
Yeah, and then.
I was gonna say no shade, but all shade. all shade.
Yeah. I'm sorry you went through that. I really I wish I could
And
back
I
them
was
up.
that was the inspiration behind this episode because I was asking Randy like, how does this work? I don't know what's happening. Please give me guidelines. But you also have like a little bit of an added layer of like cultural difference, being that like you're Dominican American and you're Armenian
Mhm.
living in Germany.
Mhm.
So did that at any time become an issue as well?
Honestly, every time that I went to visit Mari in Germany, the only difference that I felt was just the language,
Mhm.
and that I experienced it more with like her mom
Mhm.
because all her friends speak English. Um, that and the food. But when it comes to like the values that her family have and her friends have, they're very similar to the values that I have and the family the values that my family brought me up with as well. So uh, again, I felt very comfortable every single time that I went to visit out there. Um, yeah, so I wouldn't say there was a huge cultural difference for me. Yeah, no, not at all, not at all.
What about for you, Marty?
Yeah, no, I think I mean my family's pretty open. That's I think that's a really important point too, because maybe if it would have been another Armenian family with some really like yeah, German Armenian. So and yeah, I don't know, I always loved the Hispanic culture. So because of the differences with the food or even the music, I brought that into my family like before I met him. That's why it was already like something that they
already
knew.
knew.
Yes.
They knew she was gonna end up dating a Latino.
Yes, and they were actually pretty happy because they knew that's what I actually need and what's perfect for me. So even though the differences are there, it's like nice to see. Like I think both sides are really welcoming, even though like my uncle doesn't understand him, but they still communicate somehow through the music and
We still bond.
the food is a really big
It's a big
how you
help.
say yes,
It's
like
a big help because we
there's
sit on that, not
that's
on the
such a
table,
love
but,
language. Yeah, it's always like I'm hungry, and then like they always talk about food whenever they talk. So
we share the same type of love for food. So
yeah,
we
So it's
just
like a
sit
common
there.
ground. And I
Yeah,
think maybe
exactly.
even the fact that like both of your families is like immigrant families to another
yeah. I
country.
think we have more similarities, yeah, than differences. Maybe that's why.
Right. So it's like similar mindset, even if the actual like experiences or cultures were not exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So okay, so I'm sure obviously there was tons of obstacles, but is there one standout like this was the hardest thing that we had to figure out in order to make this relationship work?
I'm gonna start.
Go ahead.
So I would say like I was getting really frustrated if it was a long gap in between the times that he was coming to visit me. So and there was this one time that he because he had to take off from his work, and then we had to find a good offer for a ticket because he was coming every second month, and then it was during Christmas, my birthday, Valentine's Day, and this was the longest time he couldn't come over. And that was really hard for me. So he was clearly the stronger part. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. And yeah, so it was really, really hard for me whenever we were not seeing each other, especially you have expectations, but you don't know how, like, it's, on Christmas or birthday, you want to be with the person you love. So it was really hard for me. I don't know why, but it was really, really hard for me. And yeah, I wanted to experience that with him. And, you never know how, I don't know, you learn with the time. So yeah, and then the fact that he was not there, and I didn't know what the right thing to do is to talk more during the day. But then of course he had stuff to do because it was, the holidays. And I think this was the toughest time for me. Like the time whenever we didn't see each other for, I think it was 3 months. And that was the max. Like, yeah.
Wow. Which is pretty good. Like, y'all really like made a conscious effort to see each other.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
And what about you, Randy?
For me, it would have to be the time where we decided that we were gonna get married,
Mhm.
and then just finding out exactly how to go about it,
Yeah.
getting the papers ready, trusting what agency to get this done. That was a little bit, stressful. Just
And
dealing,
emotional when I think about it now. Yeah.
dealing with that. But we knew that we needed to do this. We needed to
Mhm.
do this and make this work. So we made it work. But for me, I would say that period was tough. The 3 months were definitely tough as well, and then the Christmas and whatnot. But I guess for me, it didn't hit me as hard as it hit you because your family is way more, I'd say, attached during those times compared to mine. Like mine, we celebrate Christmas and we see each other during that time. But the way your family does it is completely different, and there's more. I don't
it's
know.
more
There's
like meaningful, or almost like it's a bigger deal for you guys.
exactly. Yeah.
I feel you because I missed New Year's with my family one time. I was with my friends crying, like
Yes,
but
I'm the
and they're
same.
FaceTiming me like Happy New Year. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
they're
wanna
here
be there.
without me.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Especially on New Year's. That's true.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that you guys wish that you had known sooner? Like, is there anything that like if we knew this, it would have been like that, like just a smidge easier?
Well, for a long time, we thought that we needed to, what was it? For her to get her papers, we thought that we had to like submit something while she was still in Germany, like submit some things to the agency out there while you were still in Germany, and we were trying to find out like what was it, and then after speaking to some lawyers, they told us that she could actually just come to the country once you guys get married over there. She comes into the country, and then when she's here, you guys can start the process while she's still here. So that was like a big relief to me because I thought, if we start that process while she's still over there, that means that we're gonna have to wait another year until she gets her paper so that she can come. So that was that. We did find out pretty quick, maybe like a month after speculating. But yeah, if I would have known that a little bit earlier, we would have moved faster and yeah. So that's the one thing I wish I would have known sooner.
Yeah, because that must be that's the worst. That it's like you're willing to make these like big moves, but then it's like, oh, but now we gotta wait forever. Like we're willing to make all these big moves, but now we gotta do all this like red tape paperwork and wait for this and that and the other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wait, what about for you, Marty?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing. Just to get informed better. I think that's the thing. Because we were asking random people, but you never know for 100%. And even the lawyers were saying different things. So just to really get informed and not to lose time. But again, it was complicated because of the pandemic. But yeah, we definitely waited longer than we had to because we just didn't know how to go about it. What is the right way? And we just knew we want to be together. And that seemed like, oh my God, are we ever gonna live together? Like it was so far away from me. I was I was almost afraid. So that's what I think that was the hardest part because the only obstacles that we had was like not our relationship, but like from the outside, like the paperwork or just the rules of can we go into the country, or even when he was visiting me, every time we had to fill out a bunch of stuff and
especially because of the pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So going to Germany,
and every time he was coming, I was like, please, I want that everything goes well, because there was actually somebody who got sent back. And yeah, he was in front of him. So
I was literally right in front of him making the line for immigration, and he told the officers that he was there to visit his girl, which is exactly what I was doing. And they asked him for the letter of invitation, and he didn't have that. And my boy, he literally got on the flight with me in New York, and they sent him right back to New York. He didn't even cross that border right there. And thank God, because she, made the research and, she got the letter of invitation. But if it wasn't because of that, they would have sent me back too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so when you did come to New York, obviously that's a different experience to like actually live with each other versus like, you know, just be visiting and you're in her space. Um, was there any kind of adjustments? Or did you learn things you didn't need to know? You know what I mean? Was like, were you shocked by anything? What was that experience like of like now starting this new phase?
So I have to say, it sounds crazy because a lot of people were saying whenever he was coming over, it was just 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And a lot of people were like, but wait until you guys live together. It's different. But I have to say, after the first time he was there, after you spent with like 2 weeks, 24/7 with a person, you know, like you can imagine how this person is. And the fact that we were talking so often. And of course, I was a little bit afraid the first time when he got there because I didn't know how, you know, is he clean? Is he like,
Do
you
his
know,
feet stink?
do his feet stink? How is like, you know, his habit of maybe forgetting his socks on the floor and his jeans there and his shirt, there, you know, stuff like that. But everything was fine. And the most important thing, again, the communication, I could tell him things or, you know, if something was bothering me. And so whenever I got here, nothing was different than the times before because I didn't have a TV. I was always off work when he was coming. So we were really the whole time. I had a studio apartment. So we were together the whole day. And yeah, it feels like we have always lived together. It sounds weird, but it is really like I thought it would be whenever he was coming over. And yeah.
And you're not sick of him yet? Because Randy, you know, you work
What I
from
do-
home
what I
too.
do
You're not
now.
sick of him?
No, it's
You know what I thought she was gonna get tired of? My snoring, because I know I can snore really loud. Yeah, my grandmother always tells me. She'd be like, "Yo, you sound like a whole truck." So yeah, I was like, maybe she's gonna get scared of that, but she sleeps like she's a heavier sleeper than I am, so it's all good.
She has to be.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it won't
yeah.
work. That would have been the biggest obstacle right there if she wasn't.
Right. Okay. So now I mean, obviously there's still like a long life ahead, but is there anything that you would have done differently if you had known better? Or no, just is there anything you kind of wish you had done differently?
Honestly, not really. I'm so grateful for everything that has happened and the way that it's happened. The timing could have not been better with everything. The time that we made the decision for her to come, it felt right. Again, ever since we made that decision and she came to New York, things have fallen into place in such way that it's just you can't even explain it. The way that things just kind of it's almost like a blessing, you know. So yeah, so I wouldn't change anything about it at all.
And I think even with the timing, like the fact that most of it was during the pandemic, like I think dating for everybody was kind of hard because like you couldn't go anywhere. You weren't meeting people in the bar, you know? So it's like anything you were doing. I remember in the beginning of the pandemic, people was doing like virtual dates with like strangers because they were trying to date but like couldn't. So it's like even like I feel like it was even timely because you would have been doing the same thing with somebody around here, you know? What about for you?
I'm actually, it sounds weird, but I'm glad that it happened that way because maybe if the pandemic wouldn't have been that time, it would never come that far that we talk so much. So it really started to be that serious around that time. And yeah, it was
Otherwise, y'all would have been in these streets, and
Yeah,
you would have forgot about the person.
He's acting reckless out here.
No, I was working. I was like the restaurant that I was working was one of the only ones that was still open, and I had to do delivery stuff, and like I was working a lot. But still, it was like my highlight whenever I was going home, or even whenever I was able to have contact with him. So I was not even thinking about like real dating. So that was my excitement. Like this was my highlight of the day whenever we were having time. But eventually we started actually to date through FaceTime because we had to a little bit spice it up, and to make it. So we were really setting up a time. We were ordering food. He was like paying for my food. I was ordering my favorite food. And then
get a bottle of wine
and get drunk and talk and and sometimes we had to remind each other. Yeah. To remind each other like, okay, it's been days that we only had small talk. We have to, let's have deep talk and connect. So it was work. Even though it was long distance, sometimes you just talk whatever, like trash, and it's nothing deep, It's like, so what did you do? I ate this. But then we were trying to
even if we didn't have nothing like deep to speak about, just to like be on the phone with each other, feeling each other's presence, it made a huge difference compared to like the little small talk and all right, I'm gonna let you go because I gotta get into work,
Right.
Even if we didn't have nothing big to speak about, just being there and getting drunk and laughing about, oh, your hair looks funny, or some dumb shit like that. It felt good. It felt good for the growth of the relationship, and it felt good to us.
Now, you kind of touched on it about like dating. Were you guys open to, like, in the very beginning, before you had a name on it, were you still open to dating other people? Did you set any boundaries of like, nah, if we're talking like this, we gotta
no openness here.
No. Was that now? Was that a you decision or like a group decision?
No, it just felt like we never really spoke about that. No, we didn't speak about that, but it was very mutual. The I guess the commitment to each other. We would literally fall asleep to each other, just talk to each other 24/7, and our biggest effort, our biggest task was just seeing each other as often as we could, and that was the one thing that we worried about the most, to like take care of having some sort of urge or that type of thing.
Like, you were just focused on like, how can I see this person? Exactly. How can I talk to this person?
For sure. Yeah.
I also feel like, I don't know, when I tried it, I was like, yo, when would I date somebody if this man be calling me all the time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in a restaurant, be like, oh, hang on, I'm with this one. Like, exactly. Call me later. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. You got all my damn time. Yeah. So naturally you could not.
Yeah, no. It was not.
It was never an option.
But we never talked about it. That's why for me it was important to make it clear whenever he came over, But even before, even though still nothing had happened, before it was clear, okay, we know where this is going. And yeah. Without having physical
touch, no.
Physical action,
physical things.
Yeah.
How did your friends and family feel about this? Did they know from the beginning that you guys were trying to do something, like talking to each other long distance? Or
me personally, I was very private about everything. I've always been like that. I do my own thing, and then when things start to get serious, then I decide to like bring people in and stuff. And I'm a little bit weird when it comes to that, but I don't like to share what I got going on with too many people. I don't like to blend energies like that. You never know. Whatever.
You didn't want the mal de ojo.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yes, because even our families, as much as we love them, sometimes por la cultura, because of the culture, they could think like, feliz a los cuatro or something, like, they could start thinking.
And they start putting things in your head that you wouldn't have been there.
And I knew that what I felt was real, and I knew that what she felt was real as well. And I didn't want to bring nobody's pessimist ideas into, what I was feeling. So I didn't really involve my family too much up until like we got married. I actually told my grandmother that I was gonna get married maybe like 2 days or 3 days before the wedding.
Now, did Grandma know about her at least? Did she have
did.
some
She did.
inkling?
She did. She
Or
did.
just
She
like,
did.
hey, Grandma, by the way, the reason I've been coming to Germany.
No. She definitely knew I was going to Germany because I was aficionado. I was definitely just seeing somebody out there. She knew that, and actually, you met her through FaceTime a few
Yeah.
times.
Mm.
Your aunt.
Yeah, my aunt. I think you even met Tiffany, who's
Yeah.
my sister as well. So they knew about her, but when it comes to like details and all that stuff, I just I kept it to myself, and I knew that eventually it would feel right,
Mhm.
and it was gonna be the right moment, and now that she's here, I think she could agree to that as well. Because even before, whenever she was in Germany, she would tell me like, I don't even feel like your family knows me. I don't feel like,
Yeah.
and I would always tell her, listen, it's just that I don't think they're gonna actually take it 100% serious, not because they don't love you or they don't believe in what we got going on. It's just that's the way they're programmed. I would say, and
Like skeptical a
yeah,
little
they're
bit.
skeptical about,
And especially if they don't know a lot, like it's when you're keeping it to yourself too, they really
Exactly.
don't know what's going on. So it's just like them
Exactly.
and their thoughts. Like,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I knew that eventually it would feel right, and I feel like now it definitely feels right for sure.
what about for you, Monty? Your friends and
For me-
family did they know about him? Did
Yes.
they- yeah. Well, I guess they had to because he was going over there all the
Yeah,
time.
but even before, like
Mhm.
that's funny because like now we're together for 2 years officially, and my mom was like, "What? I thought it's like 3 or 4." Because even before, before he got there, she was talking about him like he's my boyfriend. Like it was clear for her, and there was so it was even my sister.
Mhm.
It was not only like a lot of people.
I think it's
like,
a women thing. We be telling everybody, be like, "Oh my god, I'm talking to this boy," and he's
yeah, and they knew because I was super open about it. I was
Mhm.
like, no matter where I was like involving him somehow and calling him, and so yeah, it was clear that we were together,
Mhm.
and so they knew, everybody knew about it. That's why I think the second day when he got there, we were in my friend's house and she cooked and we were like all there. Then he realized how important like friendship and family is actually for me.
Mhm.
And yeah, the second day he had to like meet all my friends and family, and it felt so right for me. I was not even thinking about that it could be weird for him, but it was, we slept over and we had a big dinner, and yeah, it was so everybody knew about him. It was like, oh, like el novio está aquí, like he's here finally, but
Mhm.
yeah, so
All right.
yeah.
Well, your family is so nice because I'm like, I tell everybody everything, but if I had said I got a boyfriend in another continent, they would be like, "What the hell is wrong with her?" Actually, I tell everybody everything. I did not tell none of my family and friends
About the situation.
about the
with
DR one. Only the ones
Wow.
because it was a friend's cousin. That was the only one.
Yeah.
Just the people who had to know knew, but like, and then Randy because I was trying to get advice.
Yeah.
I'm like,
what
Randy,
do you think's going on right here, man?
what am I supposed to do with this?
I told you, let it go. Let it keep playing games.
He heard Dominican's like, nah, that's not it.
Right away.
That's not
What
it.
does he do?
So just one last thing. Like, okay,
Yeah.
if you did have to give advice to someone, that is considering a long distance relationship, what's the best advice that you could give them from your experience?
To be transparent. Yeah, transparent. Really transparent. Like no shadiness, like no secrets, and really be open about it. And like some people have issues whenever you get asked, what did you do, where have you
Mhm.
but if you really want to make it work, then if you understand like, okay, this person is just interested in your life because of the fact that he's not there or she's not there, just talk. And even if you're not that person, he had to learn it as well, just to tell you whatever you do, tell the person whatever you do, and try to make that person feel like he's a part of your life, even though there's a time difference, so you can always make it work. We had 6 hours time difference, so it was really hard, but like you have to set up appointments if you want to make it work.
Mhm.
And you feel it. If it's something special, you you're gonna make it, and communication and really prioritize the relationship. Try to make it work and see each other, or having FaceTime dates, but yeah, no secrets, and just, yeah, I would say transparent and communication.
Yeah. Cool.
Right.
For me, definitely the communication and being transparent is a very important part, probably the most important part. But to add on to that, I would just say, if your partner supports you, if you feel 100% yourself around that person, if your values are right there with each other, just make a decision, make it work. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's such an important thing to me, at least, to find that. It's a rare thing to find that. Is what I was actually trying to say. It's a rare thing to find that. So whenever you find that, just really take care of that. Take care of that and make it work. Again, make a decision, and if you love your partner, just make it happen.
Go all in.
Yeah,
basically.
go all in. Don't make no questions. If you have no doubt about it, if the communication is on point, if you're transparent with each other, and you don't feel yeah, exactly. If you trust each other, just make it work. That's my advice.
You guys, you went all in. Yeah. So I'm like, and I love it. And anybody that's met you, I'm like, I'm sure people that don't know you probably like, that's crazy. They got married. They got it seems so fast. If I didn't know you, I'd be like, these people are insane. They're insane. But obviously when Mari got here, I'm just like, I completely understand. Just seeing y'all together, I'm like, this completely makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But so that's the end of our episode. I want to thank you guys for your time, for coming out and talking to us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. And then for everybody at home, besides being an adorable, loving couple, they are independently amazing musicians. And so you need to go check out their music, because when you have beautiful love, you have beautiful love songs as well. So if for no other reason, check that out. So you can find them on Instagram. Randy is at Randy Whisky. Madi is at Madi Jane Music. I'm going to link their stuff in all the posts and everything so you can find them easily. But the links in their bios will take you to the streaming platforms, or you can check their music out. And then don't forget to check back in next week for another episode of the 30-Year-Old Virgin Podcast.